All right. We're here today, a lot of people said this was a farewell to Danny Diggs. No, I would rather interpret this as thank you, and we're looking forward to working with you in the very near future in his next endeavor. So it's my pleasure to talk about him for a few minutes. I've known him for well over 40 years. I'm probably going to give you some information that may not be known to everyone here in the room. I joined the sheriff's office on January the 1st, 1975. A couple of years later, a 19-year-old came from Poquoson and joined the sheriff's office as a dispatcher. And over the years, he worked his way up through the ranks. He was a patrol deputy. And then in 1983, I believe it was, I was made head of the investigations division, and he was one of the first investigators that came in. And he worked for 5 years in investigations, and he was an outstanding investigator. Well, in 1988, he got lured away by a good friend of his, Robin Stanaway, who was working for us and ran and became the sheriff of Gloucester County. And Robin hired him away from us to become the first, I think he was the first executive lieutenant, the second one, excuse me, that the Gloucester County Sheriff's Office had. And then over the years, he worked his way up through the ranks, and when he was finally, his final rank was major. And in 1999, fortunately for us in York County, he was successful in his bid to run for sheriff of York County in the city of Poquoson, and he's been the sheriff of York County in the city of Poquoson ever since. He finalized his 22nd year as a sheriff on December the 31st, 2022. During that, thank you. So in total, that's 45 years, is that correct? 45 years in law enforcement, an outstanding career. I have been his chief deputy since March of 2000 when he appointed me, and we kind of switched roles. I told you for a while he worked for me, and then I got to work for him for 22 years. The legacy that he's left is a little bit of what I want to talk about, because not many people that are still with the sheriff's office know all of this, but at the time that he got elected, we had gone through a little bit of turmoil with the sheriff's office, and things were a little unsettled. So he was exactly the right person to come in at that point in time, because he calmed it down, and he let us know right from the very beginning that his main focus was the relationship between the sheriff's office and the community. He also gave me one of the first talks that we had as his chief deputy. He said, whenever it's possible, if there's a conflict between work and a deputy's family and their family life, I want you to resolve it for the family. And that was something that I always tried to do. That was his philosophy. So not only was he an outstanding leader, he was an outstanding, and still is, an outstanding mentor and an outstanding friend. And I have no doubts in my mind that come next year in November, we're going to be welcoming an outstanding senator to this area who's going to continue to do just an outstanding job for the citizens of York County, Poquoson, Williamsburg, and the good part of Newport News, as he describes it. So, at this point in time, as one of my official duties as Sheriff of York County in the city of Poquoson, and I say that because I heard you say that so many times before, it's in my memory. But I have to tell people here, please be a little patient with me if I answer the phone Major Sheriff, because I catch myself, it's been 22 years that I've been saying that too, so it's going to take a little while. Although I got to say, it does sound good to say I'm the Sheriff of York County in the city of Poquoson. I'm enjoying that. Anyway, I'm still going to call you Sheriff. I can't get over there. Outstanding work here. The community is going to be forever grateful, and we're looking forward to working with you in the future. Enjoy your short-lived retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, I know there's some people here that want to have a few things to say. First one I'm going to call on is Tom Shepard, the chairman of the York County Board of Supervisors. Tom, if you come up.
I don't know. Can everybody? Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know. Does it work?
That goes right to the camera.
Oh, hi to the camera. Hi. You talked about, I'm not a law enforcement person, other than I love the law enforcement work that everybody's done in the county. But I'm more a voice, not only for the Board of Supervisors, but for the citizens who have been the recipient of your tremendous service that you've given through your career and your life. And one of the things that we always have to remember, and I don't know, for those of you that are in law enforcement and you get to work for the sheriff, when I was growing up, I never saw the sheriff. I heard about a sheriff. I watched sheriffs on TV and westerns and whatnot, but I didn't know a sheriff. And then when I got involved in community work, got elected and spent years and years in the business, then I got to know what a sheriff really is. And Danny, epitomizes the sense of wanting to do something great for the community and doing the primary job of protecting his community. And what I saw from Danny that amazed me as a brand new supervisor was the responsiveness when I would call up and say, hey, Sheriff Diggs, I didn't know him 22 years ago, and it was very formal, and it says, I got a problem here, can you kind of help me? Oh yeah, sure. And somebody on the staff would all of a sudden, I'm getting phone calls and what do we need to do? And I had this thing where I was doing a report that people love because it talks about things that are really interesting to people. Not only interesting, but it hits their home. And what hits a home more than anything than the security of their home, the security of their neighborhood? How are we doing? Because you can look not too far across the border and you can see problems that we don't have here. And why is that? Well, people can talk about density and the kind of people you have and all that stuff. But I put it on the ability of people in the community to feel that the law enforcement that they have is their friends. There's somebody that will respond and help them. Now, over the years, as a supervisor, I've been exposed to some interesting crimes that, in fact, people got to the point where they would call me on what they should have been calling 911. Or they would call me and I would go, I don't know. So I'd call the sheriff. And he'd go, why don't you call 911? And so people would get confused, but they were responding to people they trust. That was the thing. They respond to people they trust. And one of the things, and one of the big things that Danny's done for our community has built a law enforcement operation that our citizens not only trust, but they love. They feel that, I hate to say this, but in some communities, the police drive down the street and you give them, the social finger. I mean, how do you feel about that? But in our community, we invite the law enforcement folks to come over to the barbecues. 4th of July, we get them involved in our community, and that's because of your leadership and how you responded to them. And every time over the 22 years that I've called Danny for help for one of my constituents, they've responded. I mean, it's almost weekly. And that's just the kind of person he is. And so you see the organization's reflection of your leadership. The feeling of the community for law enforcement is a reflection of your leadership. So Danny, on behalf of the citizens of York County and the York County Board of Supervisors, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for just a tremendous, what's the magic word? The constituent service that you've provided to all of us. It's been awesome. And I know Sheriff Ron here is going to be doing really great job. And we saw a wonderful transition. I mean, it's going to be seamless. And when you get you up there into the Senate, and your friends will be down here waving at you, and every now and then you come down and say hi to us, and we expect the same kind of service. So congratulations, and thank you very much.
I know that Chief Steve Kopczynski of Fire and Life Safety in York County would like to have a few words. Steve?
First, congratulations to Sheriff Montgomery. That I'm so used to saying Major, but Mr. Shepard referenced a smooth transition, and I think that's as a result of one, the Sheriff Diggs' long-time commitment to his organization and preparing his organization for success. And you know, oftentimes in communities across the country, there seems to be every once in a while a little bit of rub between who's getting what in public safety, whether it's law enforcement or fire and rescue or 911. And sometimes there's even a slight rub in the field. I grew up here in York County. I've lived here my whole life. And Sheriff Montgomery and I were talking, I think it was yesterday, about the fact that many of us kind of grew up in public safety here in York County. But the only way a good public safety system involving 911 and law enforcement and fire and rescue works is through cooperation. And that can only be accomplished when you have someone like Sheriff Diggs who creates an atmosphere or wants to ensure that there's an atmosphere of cooperation among all of the organizations that have to work together. You don't want to try to develop that cooperation when you're out there on an incident trying to figure it all out. You want to create that before the incident occurs. And I think that that level of cooperation and being considerate about the responsibilities of each of our organizations has been made possible through Danny's commitment to that, and for the long time working efforts that we've had together for many, many years with Sheriff Diggs' first stint here, and then when he came back, and with, I almost said Major, Sheriff Montgomery's long stint here. So on behalf of all of us in the Department of Fire and Life Safety, Danny, when this was first done, it just said, in appreciation to, presented to J.D. Danny Diggs, but no, we changed that to make sure it said Sheriff J.D. Danny Diggs, because once you're a sheriff, you're always a sheriff. Whether you're a senator, whether you're whatever you do, or retired, you're always a sheriff. So this is a certificate of appreciation presented to Sheriff J.D. Danny Diggs in recognition and appreciation of your support to the York County Department of Fire and Life Safety, and to wish you the very best upon your retirement as sheriff from York County, January 1st, 2023. So thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
This is a newer edition poem, okay?
I appreciate that.
Thank you for
very much.
everything.
Thank you for your comments.
All right.
Before we get to talk to or hear from our guest today, Sheriff Senator J.D. Danny Diggs, one group of people that I would be remiss in not mentioning that were very instrumental in his success is his family, Patty, Danielle, and Michelle. And I've watched them over 20 years, and I've been involved in campaigns with them, and I can tell you that this is the heart and soul of his campaigns and the things that he did. I mean, and for years, they were the Republican Party in York County and still are the core group there. And I know the sacrifices they made to make certain that he was successful, and I think they deserve our applause today too. Thank you. So, without further ado, Sheriff Danny Diggs.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank all of y'all for coming today, and thanks for all of the kind words from the different ones that got up here to speak. When I was a much younger man, I was a little bit tougher than I am now. It's easier to get emotional, I think, the older you get. So I just want to thank God for giving me certain skills to be, what people said, a good sheriff. He's put me in places and guided me and protected all of my deputies. Ronnie, thank you for mentioning my family, because I don't know that I could get through all of that again. They have been with me and supported me and made me the person I am. So Tom said that he would call me, and then he said another word I hope y'all heard, that I would call somebody on staff, and staff would come out and take care of the problems. And so I want to thank all these deputies, starting with Ronnie and David Bark and all the other ones who are here, who my style was not that of a micromanager, it was that of a delegator. I like to think that's because that's the way you grow people and all that. I think the corollary to that is it's a lot easier to be a delegator than it is a micromanager. Could you? And so those deputies have been out there 24/7, 365, doing the hard work, rain, shine, dealing with the most difficult people, putting their lives in jeopardy. And all the while, I reap the benefits, and I reap the credit. And now they have put me in the position to move on in the next step of my career, and I think I'm well positioned politically and as through the community to do that. I think the community will respond to the good work that all of y'all have done over these years. I want to thank everybody from the community, the county staff. Is Neil Morgan still here? The Board of Supervisors certainly helped me out and supported the Sheriff's Office. We've got a brand new building going up that Ronnie will be the beneficiary of. I got an invitation to that, though, so thank you, Tom, and all the other board members for just providing and taking care of us all these years. Steve said it about the fire department. We all got together, Vic and the school board. We got in those schools and we did great things as a team approach with the schools. I think, Vic, you said earlier that we were a model for other counties and localities. I remember when the Secretary of Education came down to York High to see how we did things, because we really do the lockdown drills and all the other things that are required. We do that and we go above and on. We have joint training. So it has been a collaborative affair with a lot of different county departments, with the community. And so it has been an honor and a pleasure for me to have been the sheriff for 23 years and to have been a law enforcement officer for 45. And again, thanks to Sheriff Montgomery for getting me on the right path early in my career. He's much older and wiser than I am, and he certainly was my mentor. And while we traded roles a little bit, we worked together very well, and he taught me as much as I think that I taught him. It was a very symbiotic relationship, and I think we all grew as a great team. And he will do an outstanding job, and it will certainly be nice to see both of our names on the ballot in November. I'll be at the top of the ticket, and you'll be around somewhere in the middle there, I suppose. But
you always want to be the top.
So just let me say, I just can't say enough how I appreciate it, and it really has been a great ride. I don't know if my wife and family feel that it's been as much fun as it has been for me, but it's been fun, it's been rewarding. You know what, I was 19-year-old when I started, and I didn't start it with this altruistic attitude of I want to get out here and help the community and help people. Boy, I got out here because it was fun. We got to ride up and down the road fast in cars with, at that time, red lights and siren. We got to put handcuffs on people and go take people to jail. We did a lot of other things that they don't do nowadays because we had a lot more time on our hands.
I can tell you, there was one time where the sheriff had a conversation with another young deputy around 3 o'clock in the morning, and they made the statement, "We're more important than our day."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it was a great time, and thank all of y'all for coming. And if you ever need anything from me at any time, and you think that I can help you out, please reach out to me, and I'd be glad to do it because y'all have done so much for me. It's only fair return that I do the tiniest bit to help somebody else out. You know, and that's another, and I don't want to talk too long, but that's another thing that I've learned during my career. Us as law enforcement officers, we go out here and we do things that are really kind of routine for us. And we just help somebody out, and it's, you know, we feel like it's part of our job, or it's because we want to help people and do the right thing and feel good about ourselves and help somebody who's really in need. And then you run across those people years later, and they remember that, and they say, do you remember the time that you did ABC for me? I was in such crisis, and you did that, and your kind words or your kind act really made a difference in my life. And, you know, when I look, sometimes I remember these little incidents. Most of the time I don't, because it usually was somebody else that did it, but they think I did it. And I do remember some of those incidents. And at the time, I really did it out of a sense of duty to do the right thing. It was the Christian thing to do. It was just the right thing to do. And it really did make a difference in people's lives. And I think we've done that over the years. And that is a great reward when somebody comes up to you, I mean, even decades later. I remember it must have been 30 years ago, Eddie Bell and I worked a case. We solved a rape case, and the lady saw me a few years ago, and it had been 30 years, and she remembered me and remembered that we had solved her case and how much that meant to her, how she was able to get her life together and move on because Eddie Bell and I had solved our case. Was that the only one we ever solved, Ronnie?
No, want to get into
yeah, we don't want to get into that. So, once again, thanks to everybody. I want to thank God, thank my family, thank all of y'all for coming and showing your appreciation today. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Ronnie.
Well, we appreciate, like you said, everyone coming out. I've waited 48 years to say this, so I'm going to say it one more time. I'm Ron Montgomery, Sheriff of York County in the city of Poquoson. And thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much.